And I love that book so much, bro.
That's dope. I love it. Production is giving intro.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm always gonna shout out my cousin on the Irregular Show podcast. Shout out Okuchi, man. Him and the team. We cooked that little joint up in the studio one day, and it's actually crazy because like that's one of the first beats I've like put together in a real long time. Like it was something that we sampled from like a TikTok sound. Do you know the TikTok producer, or he's not a TikTok producer, he's a producer that's very common on TikTok. His name is Mark Billier. So he's the white dude that like he'll be standing in front of a sampler and he'll be saying some real crazy shit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the vocals from that are sampled from him, and then I just layered harmonies on top of it, and then we slowed it down.
Oh, so you be engineering stuff.
I would say more of a producer.
Okay.
My cousin's homie engineered it. But I am somebody who, if I were to sit down and like, I'm actually a real creative bull. Like if I were actually to sit down and just like have time to not have anxiety around adulting, I would create some really nice things. But good people, great people, guys, people. Welcome to another episode of The Antidote by yours truly, Professor Odie. We are here, you know what I'm saying, to get more clear. So get used to it. Here I have with me Ms Lani G. And Lani G, as I say on all of my other episodes, I am terrible at giving intros, right? So I would want for you to introduce yourself. You tell the people who you are, where you come from, what you do, how you do it, all of those nice things. And we're going to put you in the solo layout since I just figured out how to do this. Ms. Lani G.
Hi, I am Lani G. I am a spiritual life coach and intuitive healer for Black women. I am here in the world to just help to bring light, to heal, and to really give Black women a space to heal in a safe space. I've been on my healing journey since 2019, so 5 years, almost 5 years in September. And I've really just been inspired to really help Black women to move past the things that have held us back and to really be in a space of liberation. So yeah, that's me. I'm writing a book right now. So this is my year of doing my own introspective work. So I'm not actively doing any of my healing work for other people and holding space for other people, but I'm still doing the work. So yeah, I'm glad to be here to talk to you about healing.
Most definitely. And we love an introspective queen on these parts. We love introspective queens, right? So you say that you have been engaging in your healing journey since 2019, right? And you have, I'm assuming, gone through a myriad of valleys. You've seen a number of peaks. So talk to us about your healing journey. What did that look like for you, and what aspects of healing would you say were the most rewarding, the most challenging, things of that nature? Just talk us through it, man. Talk us through it. What was going on?
Yeah, so in 2019, I had just graduated with my master's and I could not find a job. And so I found out shortly after, hitting so many walls, that one of my previous supervisors had pretty much blackballed me, making sure that nobody would hire me. So I ended up, growing up, I was always the overachiever, the kid who did well in school. So having my master's degree and having to come back home broke, jobless, like having literally nothing to my name and stuff in my sister's closet, end up sharing a bed with my mom. I was in the lowest point in my life, as you can imagine. I was like, I did all of this and for what? Like I excelled in every space. I did above and beyond, got multiple internships, like just did everything I could to make sure I was like getting my shit together. And I didn't have it together. So I really didn't have anything else to do but look inward to see, like, first I was blaming him, which partially it was him. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to blackball me. But the path that I was going down was really not the path that I wanted. It was the path that I thought I should be going down. So I feel like that was definitely divine intervention from God. letting me know that I had a bigger purpose, reminding me of my bigger purpose and to not play small. And also just, it was time for me to look at myself and see, you know, a lot of the pain I was holding on to. And that's really what I talk about with a lot of my clients and just with people when I host retreats as well, is like, who are you blaming? Who are you holding responsible for where you are right now? And if it's not you, and we need to look in the mirror. So I did my own, you know, bout with that. And I'm doing that right now. Writing this book is the biggest mirror I've ever held up against myself. And so it's really been just a journey of me holding myself accountable, also extending myself so much love, so much compassion, so much grace, which is not something I grew up to do, learning how to do. You know, I grew up with a single Black mom. A lot of women I work with have that same, you know, upbringing. And so it's just not been a space for us. It's not been safe for us to be like kind to ourselves. It was always, you know, toughing it out, pushing through, getting through it, but never really like sitting with things that weren't feeling so good. So yeah.
Most definitely, most definitely. So I want to talk a little bit about the self-accountability, right? Because you know, on the internet, everybody talk about accountability this and accountability that, and motherfucker, you need to learn how to be accountable. And I'm just like, self-accountability is the first step in accountability. Yeah. Self-awareness is the first step in overall awareness, right? So how did you learn how to build that accountability for self? Like looking in that mirror, how did you come to gain the courage to be able to look in that mirror for yourself? What did that look like for you?
I would say it looked like analyzing my decisions, right? So I was recognizing first and foremost, if I was reacting very like in a very big way to something, I wanted to know why. So like if I was triggered by something, if something made me really upset or really sad, like I started to look at, okay, what brought me to those extremes and why? And so mainly it came up in my relationships, right? So friendships and romantic relationships. When I would be deeply upset about something, I'm like, well, I can't believe they would, or, you know, just all of those things. And I would just have to ask myself, okay, at what point am I going to constantly blame them for treating me a certain way versus like, what am I allowing and what am I settling for? Or what am I not expressing like my upsetness about? Like, I'm not telling them like, hey, I got a problem with this. I'm just sitting with it and I'm mad at you for the way you treat me and the way I've been letting you treat me for how many years, you know? Okay. So it was really about, okay, what am I doing? Because at a certain point, yes, people gonna be people. Some people trifling. Some people gonna do you dirty just because they know they can. And those are the people that I don't want to have around. And so for me, it was really about having discernment on, okay, when I express myself to this person and I say I'm not really okay with that and they still proceed to treat me this way, then it's up to me to step away because they're gonna do what they're gonna do, you know? So that's really what it was, is like holding myself accountable to how I want to be treated. And if I say that I want people to love me, I want people to treat me kindly, I have to first do that to myself. I have to speak to myself in a kind way. I have to be loving towards myself because people are going to meet me where I am. If I'm over here treating myself like shit, letting you know that you could treat me like shit, you're going to do it. Even if you're not intending to. If I let you constantly push the boundary, you're going to do it.
I can definitely feel that. And I think within that premise, there's a lot of pushback, right? There's this idea that, you know, you loving yourself is not a requirement for other people loving you. And, you know, I can see parts of that. But when we say that, you know, you cannot accept love in the way that you do not give yourself love, I think that's a more accurate version of that saying, because you cannot, going back to what it is that you said about discernment, right? When I talk to my clients about boundaries, I talk to them about discretion and discernment, right? Discretion is understanding when, and discernment is understanding what, right? If you do not have that discernment, or if you do not have that ability to understand what something is, you will not ever be able to understand where to place it, what to do with it, when I'm supposed to do something with it, because you have not exposed yourself to it, right? You've not allowed yourself to be in this space for long enough for you to recognize all of the variations in which this thing comes in, right? Because I believe that in a lot of different ways. Bell Hooks said it in All About Love. I believe it was in All About Love. We think that love is a location where in which no conflict happens, and that's not true, right? Love is a space where in which conflict is handled with grace and basically with discretion, right? And I'm paraphrasing, but the reality of the situation is a lot of us have this idea that if somebody loves us, they will not hurt us, right? Or if we love ourselves, why do we hurt ourselves? It is not because it is intentional all the time, right? Sometimes it is from lack of discernment. Other times it is from lack of knowledge, but a lot of times it's from lack of vision, right? It's from lack of intentionality, right? Yeah. So I want to explore the conversation from the perspective of being intentional, but having to adapt, right, to not receiving the outcome that you thought that you were going to receive based upon this intentionality, right? Because you said that you did all of the things, you got your master's, you was getting your life together, and then boom, like something just happened, right? You were exposed to a different type of trauma that you were not expecting, right? How did you heal from that? What did healing from the unexpected look like for you?
Child, I'm still on that journey. Okay, because the unexpected happens pretty often. Obviously you can never expect it. But for me, it's really been working on my peace. So I have a very strong relationship with myself and with God, and I pray a lot and I talk to God a lot, I talk to my ancestors a lot. And one of the things that I've always prayed for is peace and having like this foundation that no matter what happens, I will not be moved, because life is going to life and it's going to knock me down and I'm going to slide down a wall crying, but I'm going to get up again every time. And so really just praying for my resilience and also exercising that, right? Like you can't just pray for something and then when the opportunity to be resilient comes, you fall by the wayside, and also utilizing the resources I have available. Like I have support, like I said, God, my angels, my guides, my ancestors, but also my friends. Really, like you said, that discernment and that discretion, like figuring out what my support team needs to look like. What do I want? What qualities do I want in friendship? I haven't had a healthy partnership quite yet in my life, but I've been learning a lot about what type of partner I need to be able to feel supported, to feel loved, to feel like this is an actual partnership, so analyzing all those things and really getting clear on what it is that I want and I need to have a healthy life and a holistically well life. That's what's most important. And I feel like you said, that intentionality, the more you're intentional, the better you're going to get what you want. Like if you're not intentional about anything, you're going to get any and everything that life could throw at you. So I work on intentionality pretty much all the time.
Most definitely. And I've definitely said something similar to people because we talk a lot about manifestation, like a lot about manifestation. And I believe we talked about this in the podcast pre-meeting where a number of people want to manifest where they are not aligned. Right. And we want to bring something into our lives that we have not set the groundwork or we have not set the foundation to receive. Right. You cannot ask for something that you are not ready for. Right. You can't fill up a pool on a patio. Like you can't do that. You dig what I'm saying? And it's like a number of people enjoy the idea of something over the reality of the work that it takes to receive it.
Amen. You out here preaching.
Chill on me, G. Chill on me. But you know what I'm saying? That's how it works out a lot of the times. And it's like the work that we do in order to obtain it is in a lot of different ways. It's not external work. It's internal work.
Absolutely.
And it's that internal work, it is what builds the tenacity, one, but also two, it's what creates the enjoyment. Right. So I was talking to my partner and I was like, yo, I don't know what it is, but like working from home is cool. Like it's decent, but it's nothing for me. There's nothing better than the feeling of leaving a job, knowing that you've done a job well done. Like, and it took me being away from jobs to get back into that place and to like appreciate it. Like that ride home when I'm just thinking about stuff, I'm just like I kind of miss this because like working from home is like there's not really a separation. You feel what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you live in the same environment that you work in, and I did not realize like the drawbacks to that. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not only that, it's kind of weird. So like working from home, imagine never being able to escape the mirror
Mm-hmm.
and having to constantly wake up and look at, you know, the reality of your situation and having that in your hands at all times, right?
Mm-hmm.
That shit can be heavy. You
Yeah.
dig what I'm saying? Or like we were talking about before we hopped on the joint, like being a content creator and creating content not only just for other people's consumption but for monetization can
Mm-hmm.
be heavy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a constant state of not only improvement of what it is that you're creating, but self-improvement,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every like this chair, my partner got it for me for my birthday, but all of the lights in this room, bro, I bought all these lights. Like I invested in all these, like this camera that I'm using right now. Like, yeah, it was given to me for free, but I had to end up paying this joint off. You know what I'm saying? I got another camera that I paid for. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
still trying to figure out how to incorporate using it. In investing in these things
Yes.
and not knowing whether or not there's going to be a payoff is you teaching yourself how to invest in yourself without
Absolutely.
quote unquote expecting this immediate return. It's a type of delayed gratification,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you are still being intentional.
Mm-hmm.
You are still
Yeah.
placing that groundwork, and you are still doing what is necessary in order to bring fulfillment to the life that you are building, right? For me, I enjoy creating content. I enjoy having conversations with people, but I feel like I would enjoy it, not necessarily I would enjoy it more, but I would feel satisfied. I will feel satisfied when I'm able to generate an income from it that
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel like what I'm doing is paying off,
Yeah.
right? And when we are talking about this context or this concept of, once again, like healing,
Mm-hmm.
right? For me, I'm recognizing that, this is a healing journey as well. You dig what I'm saying? Because it's like there are some self-sabotaging behaviors that I engage in that did not become clear until I started working from home, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some self-sabotaging behaviors that I did not identify until they began sabotaging parts of my business. You dig what I'm saying? There are different parts of your healing journey that come at different avenues after you have taken the step in the direction that you want to grow your life. So, in other
Yeah.
words, they say for every level there's a new devil, but what they don't tell you is that that devil is usually who you are looking at in the mirror.
Facts. It's usually you.
It's usually you. You
Mm-hmm.
feel what I'm saying? So, with that knowledge and with that understanding, how have you come to sit and speak with the devil in you? What does that look like?
Oh my gosh. It looks like a lot of observing. Like, I don't know what book. I've been reading a lot of books, child. But
Mm,
it's one book by somebody that talks about being the observer of
mm,
yourself, like of your life. And I feel like that was the most valuable for me because when I'm observing, I'm not judging. I'm not telling myself what should be happening, what shouldn't be happening. I'm just like, girl, what you doing? Like what are we responding to right now? Like, because if I again going back to this example of being upset by something, right? It took me off guard. I'm really mad, and I'm like, okay, what are we mad at? Are you mad at this thing that happened, or are you mad at something else? Like, what is like really just paying attention? Like, what's going on? What's happening in your mind? What's happening in your body? That's something for me that's super important. Is like really trying to get more present in my body because for so long I was so detached. I was just in my head about everything. It wasn't about how I was feeling, it was
ooh,
about what I was thinking.
okay.
And getting into my body really helped me to be more present with myself. And that really I feel like is super healing on so many levels. Cause like I said, I'm a black I'm a black woman. Everybody watching this gonna know I'm a black woman. But like thinking about the black woman experience, right, in this country, and also just what I know about black women as a whole. Of course we're not all the same, But I feel like so many of us are trained to be detached from our bodies, right? Like just
Mm.
don't, like we dissociate a lot. And so for me, a big part of my healing was letting my body tell me what was going on and listening to what my body was telling me, because it was just, I learned so much about myself. Like I learned what's a yes and what's a no.
Mm.
And I stopped ignoring that because my body was very clear before my mind got into the picture. My body was like, yeah, not feeling this. Like, and I'm like, okay, girl, I feel you. I hear you. And I learned to listen to her now. So it's so many different pieces to the puzzle of healing. I don't even remember your original question, but I hope that answered it.
So the original question was, how did you get to understand, once again, the
Oh,
devil in you, right?
oh yes.
And you were talking about observation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a very powerful response, because people will say that the devil is in the details,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of times we overlook the details in order to construct the main idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? And our main idea is usually whatever the autopilot objective is for that day,
Yep. Yep.
right? So the main idea for most people is to wake up, go to work, come home, do what you got to do, go to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is the main idea objective. Now, for other people, it is escaping that, right? I don't want to be in this. Like, I remember the first time I got given a cubicle. It wasn't even really like a cubicle. It was just like a. So you know how you sit back to back with like you on one side and somebody on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As soon as I seen that little gray cabinet thing that can flip up and you can put like, I was like, nah, I can't do this, bro. I can't do this.
Yeah.
This ain't me. This ain't never been me. Because in my mind, I equate that to failure.
Mm.
I equate that to being, tied down. I equate that to being, in a rut. I equate that to being, like not being able to explore who I am, because I have to constantly meet the needs of somebody else.
Mm.
Right. So for the longest period of time, my main idea was to get away from that. But it took me literally, and I want y'all to hear what I'm saying. The first time I almost found myself in the cubicle was in 2018. No, yes, beginning in 2018, right? Because I was still working for a therapy agency down in Florida. I was, at the beginning of my career, I had just gotten my master's. I was doing the whole shebang, right?
Mm-hmm.
They give me this cubicle. I'm like, it's time for me to leave. I gotta go, right? So I go work for another agency, and they give me an office. I'm like, okay, I'm cool with this. I can deal with this. I feel a little bit more accomplished. You dig what I'm saying? I'm an office bull. Like, yeah, do my thing, right? Get the office, start doing that. I'm like, all right, now it's time for me to be somebody's supervisor. I moved very quickly through the ladder of we're gonna call it corporate/community based mental health. Moved through that very quickly, right? I was an associate program director by the time I was 26, without a license. Shit was crazy, right? Detail number one: I don't like managing other motherfuckers.
You don't?
No, can't
Why?
stand. I don't feel like I should have to tell another adult how to do their motherfucking job.
Well,
I'm an adult. You're an adult. Why do I have to tell you to do a job that you read the paper for, you signed on the line for, you dated that shit, and you get a check for it? Why do I have to come in here and tell you, hey, you might want to make sure that no, absolutely not. No. No. That was detail number one. Detail number two: I am not the most organized person. I'm not. And in order to be an effective manager, you have to be organized. There was one of my employees that I fucked up his check not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Not the money.
One time I underpaid him. The second time I overpaid him. And the third time it was just like the hours are wrong. Listen, man. Listen. My job description at that job was 4 pages long. 4 pages. 4 pages as an associate program director. There was so much shit that I had to do, right? That was the only job I had ever cried over. So, yeah, it was just terrible, right? So, detail number 3: I prefer working with people over processes.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's just my preference, because processes to me, they never fucking end.
Yeah.
There's always something to fix,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's always something that needs to be updated, an email that needs to, like it, all of these things, right? So fast forward to 2019, when I have the fantastic idea to begin working for myself. All three of these details came back and they punched me right in the face.
Yeah.
Ming, ming, ming. Because I was so busy trying to run from this idea of being confined
Mm-hmm.
that I did not recognize that the systems, the processes, all of these different things are things that I would not have to do if it's being handled by an agency, and things that I have to do myself if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a part of an agency, or if I'm an independent contractor. So why do I say all of these things? What does this have to do with healing? There is occupational trauma. There is also an avoidance. And all of these things came back and bit me in the ass when I decided that I was going to handle all of these things myself. The devil is in the details. You are usually the person who is your own comeuppance. And if you are not careful, you will end up metastasizing something that could have been snipped or nipped in the bud, simply because you want to avoid the pain of identifying what it looks like or looking at it, right?
Yeah.
So now I still got to be more organized.
Mm-hmm.
Now I still got to engage in these processes. Now I still got to not necessarily manage people, but shit, I'm a people, so I got to manage myself.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the next part of our conversation, right? This idea of self-management, and how self-management in and of itself is a healing journey, right? Because you avoid things based upon trauma. You avoid things based upon pain. And I recognize that there are some things that I'm avoiding now, and there are some things that I was avoiding then based upon my negative internal narratives, right? Based upon that inner child being, pulled into this conversation, right? So, for example, for me, my inner child a lot of times gets triggered when I feel like I'm not doing something right, right? Because there was a part of me that believed that I only received praise when I was like smart, or when I was performing this intelligence, right? So it was very easy for me to become cerebral, right? It was very easy for me to be, lofty in the brain, right? But when people were not able to respond to it, I got very frustrated, right? It was difficult for me to, as my mother says, come back to the earth, right? But whenever I did come back to the earth, for me, what it felt like was, quote unquote, downgrading myself, right? It felt as if though I had to, why do I have to meet somebody where they are instead of them coming up to see where it is that I am, right? Meeting people where they were was vulnerable for me, because whenever I did it when I was younger, I felt like I was still made fun of because I didn't do it right. It was always very difficult for me to relate to people, right? Because of how it is that I saw things, how it is that I perceived things, how it is that I, navigated through particular areas of life, right? So doing that inner child work has been interesting, because one, of course, I got to pop the ego bubble. Like, come on, bro. Like, you got to chill on that. But also, two, understanding how, just like you said, dissociating from the body. For me, that dissociation came through my intelligence. Like, I use my intelligence as a security blanket. I don't have to relate to y'all because y'all motherfuckers are stupid. Right?
Relatable.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, you motherfuckers are dumb. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I still carry that around a little bit. It's okay. We're learning, right? But that self-management, in that inner child work, in that understanding how it is that all of these things come together, how all of these things are intertwined in a way, right? I want to talk to you about what that looked like for you, right? Understanding how it is that your inner child showed up at different parts of your journey and how it is that you walked with that child, but also in a lot of ways learned how to manage yourself, right? Talk to me. I'm listening.
Yes. So, like you've said, my healing journey and my self-management journey has really been about parenting my inner child, reparenting them in many ways, because I've had to show myself the things that I really didn't get to experience in childhood. Like, there were many times where I felt like I wasn't protected. There are many times where I felt like I wasn't heard or valued, appreciated, loved. And so as an adult, I've had to do those things for myself. So extend kindness to myself when I'm frustrated rather than just dismissing my frustration. I would, like I said, observe, ask myself, journal. Me and my journal is besties, okay? I also video journal. I'll be talking to myself all day because I'm like, girl, what's going on? I'm here for you. If ain't nobody else here for you, I'm going to be here for you because I'm not going to abandon you. And that was one of the main things that, and is one of the main things that I'm still working through with my inner child, is like this feeling of being abandoned. And so I'm never going to leave myself. And so what that looks like is just showing up whatever way she needs me to. Sometimes it's cuddling with my pillow, okay? And just sitting there for a minute, sitting with my sadness, allowing myself to cry. Because as a child, everybody and their mom was like, you so sensitive, you so dramatic, you cry so much. Okay, well, my grown ass want to shed some tears because this is upsetting me. So, like, allowing myself to be as I am and not putting these limits on myself anymore. So, managing myself just looks like tuning into what I need every day, like all the time. And it's not putting myself on the shelf for, oh, this weekend I'm gonna get to you. Or when I'm done with this, I'm gonna get to you. No, girl, I got time for you right now. Because those are the things that would constantly show up in my relationships, friendships, familial relationships, romantic relationships, always feeling like I'm the back burner. I'm like, everybody and their mama, they don't care about me. Nobody sees what I'm going through. But Lani, is you looking at what you want? Is you asking yourself what's going on? So, like, again, everything starts with me. And I do agree that with the statement, to a certain extent, of like, people can only love you as much as you love yourself. That goes to a certain point, right? Because if you have never seen it, if it's never been modeled to you, you don't know how to do it, right? But it doesn't mean you're not deserving of it. I think sometimes people get that mixed up. It's like, well, you can't get in a relationship until you love yourself all the way, until you heal. It's like, girl, give me a minute. Like, if I've been living my whole life and I'm at year 60 and I've never learned this, and you telling me can't nobody love me right now because I haven't figured out how to love myself, you're crazy. That's wrong. I don't think that's right. I do think that we can maybe push some people away that do want to love us if we don't understand what love is, or we don't know how to receive it. And that's something, again, your girl's working through. But that's just part of the journey, right? It's like learning yourself, getting to know you. That's real self-management. Who are you? Looking at yourself in the mirror. There's a lot more I can say, but
I think that's fair, right? Especially when it comes down to pushing other people away, right? Because once again, you will avoid what it is that you are not ready to identify with or resonate with, right? Or you will avoid what it is that you are not prepared to engage with, right? And in relationships or in dating, a lot of people will engage in what it is that I call like gaslighting by denial, right? So in other words, if somebody is able to point something out in you that you are not ready to accept about yourself, in being in your space of denial, you are gaslighting that person, right? Because you are not ready to accept that about yourself. You are not ready to deal with that part of yourself just yet, because you may not have the capacity. You may have just got done doing some healing. You may just got done, exploring yourself in a particular way. You may have been in a space where you did not or cannot or will not tolerate this part of yourself because it reminds you of something else that you are not ready to accept, right? So once again, segueing into this conversation around healing, dating, relationships, and understanding what that looks like now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to you about two things. So we're gonna stay on the inner child a little bit more, right? And understanding how to be with oneself, because I was always taught that if you don't know how to be with yourself, you can't be with nobody else,
That's the word, and that's the fact.
right? So when it comes down to being with yourself, right, and understanding what being with yourself looks like, because I'm the type of individual where I firmly believe that I learn more in relationships than by myself. Here's my logic. I'm Sometimes I feel like I'm too self.
Hmm.
Right? I'm self-aware to the point where, let me give you an example. I had a supervisor. He's still my supervisor to this day, but in a different capacity. Right? I would come to his office and I would tell him everywhere that I'm fucking up. I would literally come to his office and be like,
Yeah.
I need to improve on this, and this. He'd be like, Will, stop. That's my job. Now I don't know what to do since you already know everything you're supposed to do. I'm like, yeah, nigga, like, am I not supposed to, like, no? You dig what I'm saying? It's usually what I usually need help with is understanding how, right? Or understanding the implementation parts, right? So for me, I'm very aware of my good and bad. I'm usually aware of my good and bad to a point where when I get into relationships, if somebody is attempting to tell me about the bad about myself, I will say to them, I agree with what it is. I agree with your premise. I disagree with your conclusion. I can accept this about myself. I genuinely can. But what it is that you are saying to me about myself, I don't agree with, right? So people will say, you think you know it all. No, I don't. I'm very aware of the things that I don't know. You believe that I think that I know it all because I usually have an answer to what it is that you're saying, or I usually have a rebuttal, right? You feel like you always need to be right. No, it's just not that, right? It's more, and once again, I can understand where it is you get that from. Like I get it, right? Being with an individual who constantly has an answer for every one of your inquiries can feel like this person feels like they need to be right all the time, right? Sometimes I gotta ask myself, oh, do you feel like you need to be right all the time? No, but I'm not going to just allow you to tell me that I'm wrong. I'm one of those people where you need to prove me wrong because I'm very self-assured. I am, right? And if you can show me with evidence why it is that you believe that I'm wrong, by all means, I'll accept that I'm wrong, right? But you just telling me that I'm wrong triggers my inner child. It genuinely does, right? Because it feels like now, because you have started with the premise that I'm wrong, you are about to blame me for something that I feel like I didn't do. We did not examine this appropriately. We did not go through this appropriately. So it's not that I feel like I have to be right. Now, I will say that there are times where I feel like I have to defend myself based on how it is that you come into this conversation. But me being always right, because no, if you're listening to what it is that I'm saying, I'm actually conceding a lot in this conversation. This is just not the concession that you want me to make. Right? So my logic, going back to the original point of me feeling like I learn more about myself in relationships than I do by myself, is that for me, it's not that I know everything it's not that I know everything about myself, right? It's that whether or not I'm in a relationship or not, I'm going to continue to explore myself.
Yeah.
Right? My self-exploration does not stop because I'm in a relationship with somebody else. It just doesn't. It never has. It hasn't. I don't pedestalize people, and I tend not to put people's needs before my own, right? What tends to happen more so is that I make space for their needs alongside my needs, which some people can deal with and other people can't. It's a very interesting thing, right? But as far as knowing myself and as far as understanding myself, I feel like I have a pretty good grip on that, right? So for me, when it comes to people engaging with me, what tends to happen is that I, how can I explain this? Not that I feel like I give too much grace, but I feel like it takes a while to come to an understanding about somebody and then to give them the grace to implement what it is that I say that I need.
Oh yeah, I feel that, child.
That makes sense?
A lot of sense. I was just talking to one of my friends about this.
Mm-hmm. Cause like I know how complicated I'm a simple ass dude in terms of what it is that you can give me.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as understanding me, baby, it's gonna take you a minute. And I know it's gonna take you a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably the deepest waters you've never waded in, to the point where, baby, you're gonna have to learn how to swim. And it's okay. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? You over here in ocean Odie, you feel what I'm saying? I know I'm an ocean, baby. I get it. You sticking to them rivers and them lakes that you use. No, baby, I'm an ocean. You feel what I'm saying? Right? It is a level of self-awareness that is like I usually have to learn how to acclimate to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I learned that from one of my professors, because I came to her and I was like, yo, I told her, like, sometimes I feel like I don't believe that I understand how it is that I like fit into the world. And she was like, what did she say to me? She said Hezekiah, because this is when I was in Alabama, so they was calling me Hezekiah. It was like, she was like, Mr. Hezekiah. No, that's what I said. I said, I don't think, sometimes I don't know who I am. And she said, Mr. Hezekiah, I think that you have a very clear awareness of who it is that you are. You are just trying to figure out how it is that you apply yourself to the world. And that shit changed my view immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, you might have told me some shit. You might have told me some shit. That's a motherfucking word, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I say all of those things to say, and the question that I'm asking is that self-awareness, right? Mm-hmm. And once again, going back to that those interconnected things, the inner child, understanding one's level of self-management, the self-reflection. What do those things look like in the context of a relationship? And how does one know when they are ready to engage in a relationship while they're in a space of healing?
Well, first and foremost, I would say if you are aware that you have these deep wounds around relationships, I'll use myself as an example. I have a very big daddy wound. You know, my dad was in and out for a while, and then he just straight up said peace, you know. And when he was around, it was very not beneficial to my well-being. So I have a wound around men, and you know, him and a lot of other men contributed to that before I reached adulthood. But with that knowledge that I have of myself and how I can be very repulsed by men sometimes, and it's not even like, it's not that I'm gay. It's not like, oh fuck man, I want to go to women, you know. It's genuinely like, I'll be like,
I feel like somebody in your family just said that, and you're trying to make sure that everybody on the same page.
Oh no, I mean, I'm definitely on. I've done some things, okay? I just don't see myself being in a relationship with a woman. Like, I know for sure within myself that I do want a husband. And so that's why I've gone into like another level of therapy. This is what my point I'm getting to is like, when you're ready, I feel like I'm ready to date because I have resources, support now. I have a therapist. So no, when I'm triggered, sis, he done triggered the hell out of me. I don't know what to go. I don't want to throw him away. You know what I'm saying? But I don't like I'm not really sure how to navigate these waters, right? Because it's new for me. I've never felt safe with men. All these things that like I want to venture out there, but knowing my history, I need help. I need support with that. So having like, and of course it's a blessing that I'm able to have a therapist, right? Everybody don't have access. But even having friends that have a good head on their shoulders, not everybody that's all fuck these niggas, and not everybody that's like, let them treat you how they want. You know, you gotta have some balance in there. Everybody don't know how to support you. So for me, it really looks like taking inventory within yourself. Like, are you in a place where will it still fuck these niggas? If it still fuck these niggas, you probably shouldn't be fucking with these niggas. Like, because you're going to get the experience that you're looking for. You're going to get it's a what is it? The self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever you're gonna confirm what your mind is focused on. And I understand it, and I have so much grace for people, whatever your experience is. If somebody tells you, yeah, it can rain, but you live in a desert and it ain't never rained before, it's gonna be real hard for you to believe that it can rain. So I understand it, but you gotta have somebody other than yourself and the narrative that you told yourself for however many years you've been alive to tell you like, oh, there's another possibility for you here. This is how we can navigate this. And also having space and room for your own healing, extending compassion to yourself, right? Extending more love to yourself as you move into this uncomfortable space, because it is uncomfortable. Like the first relationship I got into after starting my healing journey, it was a battle within myself. Like it wasn't even with them, it was with me, of like trusting myself with them, allowing myself, like second guessing thing. Like it was so much work, and it is work, right, to get to a place of feeling like I can do this. It's so much like I've been healing my relationship with money as well, feeling like I'm safe having some money in the bank. Like I ain't just got to spend it all. Like all it's a whole bunch that happens, a lot of trauma that we have to work through. But I think grace is a really big part of it. Grace for yourself, grace for, like, we're specifically talking about romantic partnerships right now, right? So
Yes.
grace for that person that you're with, because what you just talked about of like, I can understand like, okay, cool, I'm gonna tell you now, I'm in a point where I can tell you what I need, but what you gonna do about it? Like, is you gonna do something? How long is the grace period from when I tell you what I need, and is you doing it? Like all there's so much nuance with this. So I think it's just really a point of like really acknowledging that we are all human. Everybody, even friends, like I've had to express to friends, like, I don't really like when you did that. And I'm not used to that. Growing up, there were a few people who I thought were my friends who weren't. And of course, as an adult now, I can look back and be like, yeah, we was kids. I can't really blame a kid for being a kid. But I can also acknowledge that it caused me harm, and it made me not trust people, made me think that I couldn't trust myself. And so in these new relationships that I'm embarking on in my life, I have to allow space for them to be a human. People are going to make mistakes. Like you were saying in the beginning, people are going to hurt you. Love doesn't always feel good. Everybody, they may have the best intention for you, but they still going to hurt you. Our parents are a really good example. Like, sorry, put my mama on blast. She don't be on the internet, but I know she love me. But that woman has hurt me so much sometimes. I'm just like, girl, so it's like, it's different, of course, for other relationships, family. They're a whole little box in themselves. But,
Yes, they are.
it's really just, I think, grace. We all need a lot more grace. And you and I talked about this in like our pre-call before, like the relationship between Black men and Black women, and the whole it's your fault. It's your fault. And it's like, grace, baby. We need to just have more grace. We all carrying a lot. Grace.
So I think that's a fantastic place to extend the conversation just a little bit more, right? Because I literally just posted something on my threads a couple of hours ago as it relates to this idea of how social media impacts our perceptions of what things are supposed to look like, right? And how they are, how can I say this? What healing, what relationships, what grace, what all of these things are supposed to look like as it relates to, once again, the relationship between Black men and Black women. I think that both between Black men and Black women, there has been a lot of loss of patience and a lot of loss of work as it relates to understanding how a relationship actually comes to be, right? I believe that we are in the era of microwave mating. Right? You believe that this relationship, or you believe that this connection is supposed to be facilitated like this, with this amount of quickness, with this amount of strength, and with this amount of depth in this amount of time. Right? And some people will say, oh, I don't believe that. I don't believe them. Like, do you not? Because if that were the case, we would not be having so many conversations around who is supposed to do what, right? We would not be having so many conversations around these roles in which people need to play, right? So I believe that when we talk about grace, right, truly, what have been some of the things that you have needed to extend grace to Black men for?
That is a very good question. Because if I'm being honest with you, I do not spend a lot of time around Black men. I don't. Most of my friends are women, and I have brothers, but I would say I would just speak to my brothers then, because those are the men I mostly spend my time around. And for them, it's just the way that they speak about women.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have to extend some grace for, because specifically I had a conversation. I have a twin brother. And so sometimes I'll be like, what word are you in? Because we came in this bitch together. And the way you be talking, I'll be like, where were you when I was like, it's just so confusing. But anyway, tangent. I have had conversations with him where the way he talks about women and his experience with them, I'm like, you're just really like shitting on women. But then I look at myself and I'm like, I say the same thing about men.
Whoa, because I was gonna say, because the rebuttal from the brothers is usually, so y'all can shit on us, but we can't shit on y'all. And I gotta sit back and be like, because you say you haven't spent a lot of time around Black men.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be, it's fair to say, like, a lot of Black men do not spend a lot of time around Black women. But in my experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I am around a lot of Black women and the conversation goes to their conversations around relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes left very quickly because there is because there is no grace, because there is not this acceptance of that is your lived experience. Mm-hmm. It's you're talking about me, and it's like, no, baby, I'm not talking about you. And if I was, I would direct that to you. I would say, this is the problem I have with you. Hopefully, right? If we're adults. But I think we take so much personal from those things, right? So when I'm listening to my brother, for instance, in our conversation, because he be dating these white girls. I ain't gonna lie to you, okay? And he's been dating them for some whiles, for a while now. And I'm like, ain't no Black, and I've been saying this in probably like 10 years. I'm like, ain't no Black girls around. I know it's some Black girls around you. Why are you playing? And his response will be, they don't be trying to give me no play. They be looking at the white dudes and looking at the light, because my brother's dark like me. They be looking at the white dudes and the light-skinned dudes, and they turn their nose up at me. And in my mind, I'm like, I personally, though, I did tell him this. I have Black girlfriends that see you and be, checking. So I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? So maybe it's the women you're approaching, but whatever. And I was like, I don't believe that's true. And he was like, but that's my experience. Check me real quick. Because it is. You telling me that when you go to try to approach, I was like, how do you talk to them? He tells me how. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know why they wouldn't respond positively to that. So I can't tell you that your experience is not your experience. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is, what we got to do to make it better. I cannot solve the problem for them, and they can't really solve it for me. And like I told you before, I feel like more what needs to happen is just like general support in our communities of one another. I feel like there's not a baseline of like relationship between Black men and Black women. Mm-hmm. It's always like romantic. But what about, I want to have Black male friends. Like I have one outside of my brother. So it's like, I don't want to just be around a Black man when I'm like kissing on him. And like, I want to have Black men around, you know what I'm saying? Like if I need some help or something, like a male perspective on things. That type of stuff is beneficial too. And I don't think we have enough of that because we don't feel safe around each other. I think we're always on attack now. Like there is just this, we've all been hurt by each other and by the world. And I really want us to be together, of course, in like dreamland. I want us to get there. But in order for that to happen, I feel like we just need to be open to accepting that we have caused harm to each other. Mm-hmm. And focused on how we can move forward together and healing that for each other.
I agree. As a Black man, when I have this conversation with Black men, the response that I usually get is, oh, why are you saying that we responsible? I'm like, brother, I'm not saying that you are responsible for the things that have transpired with these women. I'm saying that you are responsible for how it is that you show up to the community, right? Mm-hmm. We cannot expect for women to feel safe around us when we do not when we are not intentional about creating environments of safety with women as a gender and not women who we just want to fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I spend a lot of time with black women, or I spend a lot of time in spaces where there are black women, right? I got homies who are black men. I also have homies who are black women. And it's like a lot of the things to the point where it's like sometimes when y'all be talking on them, be like, hey, stop playing with me. I got homegirls. Stop playing with me. Y'all out here front the same way I be listening to black men like, nigga, you fronting your moves. I be hearing black ones like, ma'am, you fronting your motherfucking moves. Like you really are, right? You not like, so for example, this whole conversation with men about what women are looking for in dating, right? I'm like, brother, the same way y'all be lying, women be fucking lying. They do. They be fucking lying. Like, yes, there's an ideal. There's an ideal. And then there is something that, and I think the reason why we're so afraid to talk about it is because we call it settling. It's not settling. It is identifying that your ideal may not have been your ideal. That's one. Or two, that what it is that I found is better than what it is that I thought would be fulfilling for me. This is fulfilling, right? And it's usually fulfilling because it touched a part of you that you did not expect to be touched. And with women, usually it's emotional safety. For men, it is usually emotional safety. Noble, I say it all the time. Like in these dating conversations, we are all asking for the same thing. We're all asking for the same thing. Like when men talk about, oh, these women, they don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, all right, outside of, once again, once we get past all the performative shit, women with money and men with like acts of labor. Once we get past all of that performative shit, both black men and black women say that they want somebody who's going to treat them gently. Because both black men and black women know what it's like to be treated not gently. They know, right? But once again, when we start having this conversation about black men treating black women gently and black women treating black men gently, the grace goes out the window. Flying. Why the fuck I need to do this for this nigga? That shit sassy. That shit said, oh, why the fuck I need to do this for these bitches? They did that. I'm like, yo, why are you responding the way that you're responding to extending grace? Why are you responding the way that you're responding to extending love? Is it that it puts you in a place of vulnerability? It puts you in a place where you actually have to show somebody who you are and trust that they will not mishandle you or drop you, right? Have you explored what it is or what it feels like to your inner child to be mishandled, to be dropped? In your adult life, have you healed the wounds that you have had from being dropped from various heights? Right. Are you really in the season for you to accept love, or do you just want to complain about it? You got to be intentional. You got to make a choice, right? Yeah. So the episode, I forgot to mention the beginning of this episode, but I think that people are going to understand it by the end. The title of this episode is called "Get Your Life," right? And I believe that throughout this conversation, Ms. Lani, we have each individually giving people ways for them to get their fucking lives, right? So, Ms. Lani, before we get up out of here, tell the people again where we can find you, what you do, how we can get in contact with you, all that good stuff. Let me know what's going on.
Yes. Well, I am on the internet on Instagram at Loving the Journey with 2 G's and 2 Y's, and also on TikTok under the same tag, and YouTube. I post vlogs and things where I kind of like share more insight, like long form, because sometimes Instagram and like TikTok is it don't give enough for me. So I like to talk, if you probably can't tell. And I can share more of myself in that way. And right now, I'm not really as active on my socials, to be honest with you all, because I'm writing my book and I'm really on this journey of really just trying to commit to pouring into this creation that's the biggest project I've ever had. So I will be popping on and off the internet over the next year, this year, 2024. But yeah, those are the places you can find me. Talk to me there. Hop in my DMs. When I'm on there, I will respond. My email is Lani@lovingthejourney.com. The Loving the Journey is the same way, 2G's, 2Y. So if you want to email me to talk, we can talk.
Most definitely, most definitely, most definitely. And as always, y'all, man, y'all know what it is. Come tune in for the next episode, man. I told y'all we was going to have some heavy hitters this season, man. We got some good people. We got some great people. And we also are always in company of God's people. But once again, good people, great people, God's people. I appreciate y'all for tuning in for another episode of The Antidote. Peace, love, soul, butter rolls. And I will see y'all next time.